Hi, everybody. I'm back again, and I'm back with Bruce Russell. Bruce is this is actually Bruce. You're the second person I have done two interviews with. So Bruce was interviewed last year around the portrait concert we did of his music, and he's back this year. Well, it was originally going to be a brand new piece for ensemble, which due to COVID, we have once again had to postpone. Hopefully we'll be able to do it in a couple months, and we'll let everybody know about that. But he happily also had an unperformed piece for solo piano that we were able to stick into the program when Stephen Clark is going to be playing it on this broadcast. So Bruce, welcome back. It's always great to see you.
Great to see you, David, and it's an honor to be working with Array again, of course, and also an honor to be in the two interview club.
Yeah, there'll be more two interviews in the future, but I'm happy that you're in our first tier here. So can you talk a little bit about the piano piece and how it came about? Yeah, and what's going on with it. And first of all, what year was it written?
So Dream of the Blue Elf was written in 2007. And it's part of a cycle of 5 pieces. It's a piano cycle, I call it. And it's the middle piece, it's the third piece. And the cycle is called Gimme Some Modes, which is a play on JB's, the band, James Brown's band, the JB's song, Gimme Some Mo. Nothing really to do with funk, but it's about modes, and it is really sort of one mode that goes through a transformation, 5 different guises, and this is its middle guise. So it's a piece about a mode, but it's not modal music like modal jazz, and it's not like, say, traditional music that has one root and it drones all the way through on that root, and it's more an exploration of what are all the tonal considerations of those pitches. And in this case, it's a scale called the Lydian dominant mode. I'll try to explain that for non-musical people. It's all the white keys. It's all the white keys from F to F on the piano, but the E is flat, so it's an E flat. People who do know some technique might recognize that it's a version of something called the melodic minor. The melodic minor scale. So it has a little bit of a earthy feel and a little bit of a magical feel, and use non-technical descriptions. It's a bit of the Lydian magic that you hear in a lot in music that's depicting mystical things, or in film scores when there's ever any kind of mystery or sci-fi, etc. That's not what I set out to use it, how to use it, but it has that connotation on the side. Other than that, it's also been labeled as Bartok's acoustic scale. So composers such as Bartok used it. Scriabin's Mystic chord is based on that scale. So if you know Scriabin's music, you know Bartok's music, that sound is there. It's there in Gershwin, it's there in Ellington. It's a big jazz chord. The jazz sharp 11 chord is based on this mode. So it's a very predominant kind of scale. It's not talked about a lot because it's kind of unusual as a scale unto itself, as opposed to its specific appearances. So that's about the mode. And so I guess it's in the F Lydian mode. I said about going, okay, well, it can be an F, but it has an ambiguity where it could also be in G major, sort of. It could be in C minor sometimes. It can be in a weird version of D, a D Phrygian with a raised 6, etc. It has these tonalities. And so right off the mark, when I started with the piece, I'm like, okay, let's just make combinations and see, something that's a little unusual. And then I go into my my more typical kind of approach, which is somewhat systematic, using rows of pitches and using canons, going through sequences, but also letting it kind of roam, but letting it roam, letting it be a rumination. And so when I gave it to Stephen, I mentioned that it is something that can kind of, he can let it breathe. So what else about this piece? And why is it called Dream of a Blue Elf?
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
Yeah. So it's based on a real dream I had. It's a 15-year-old piece, and it was written just around the time when my oldest child was a newborn, or a little after that. I believe it was finished in July 2007. And so my firstborn and I, we both share a birthday, which is on Monday, the January 31st. And that's too much information for the internet, but
Oh, happy birthday.
yeah, thank you. So that's how old the piece was, and that the subject of the dream was a version of my newborn, but an older version, and a version of them that was literally an elf in the dream. I mean, they were very human. They weren't out of the Lord of the Rings or something. It was in a hospital, and they were a hospital. I'm trying to remember the dream because I haven't looked it up in a while. I wrote it down and I blogged about it way back when I had a blog. A dream blog. It's in the dream, they're a hospital intern, or maybe because we'd been in the hospital with them not before that when they were born. And this hospital intern is sort of very warm and reassuring and trying to convey some kind of wisdom in the dream, some kind of serenity, And I noticed that they had kind of blue veins, and they had little tiny forked points at the top of their ears. And so it wasn't, in the dream, it wasn't like, I'm an elf. But later on, I was like, well, that was kind of like magical, like an elf. So that's the title.
That's great. I love it. That's so vivid. It's really great.
I mean, it was one of those dreams that you come away from feeling very warm. I mean, we all come away from dreams with different emotions sometimes, upset, or anxiety. This one was just so warm and peaceful, and that's so rare, and so it stuck with me.
Was the dream, out of curiosity, did the dream precede the piece, or simultaneous to, or slightly after? Like
during the competition. So I mean, at the time,
yeah.
I was working on something on the piano that was to become this piece. And it was in the middle of this series, I wasn't even sure was a series yet, but I'd written 2 of the pieces. Yeah, and the 3rd and 4th were kind of intermingling as I was writing them. The 3rd was becoming the 4th, and vice versa. And once this dream happened, there's almost a little bit, I'm not going to say synesthesia, but I sometimes get color associations with tones, more often with timbre, with sound color. I get color association. Like an orchestra, the sound of a certain group of orchestral instruments will give me ideas of hue and color. Not so much the piano. The piano is the piano, but the different harmonies in the piano and different densities can give me that. So there was a blue-green feeling. I don't know. Not necessarily a messian blue-green.
Yeah. It's really interesting. It's really interesting. Yeah. I think that's it. Anything else you want to say about the piece, or?
I don't know. I mean, there's one thing I will say is that when going back 15 years into a piece, there's 2 things actually. One of them is that I heard some sounds that came back into music last year in a piece I wrote for the Griffin Trio called "We Have Lived Before," and the middle movement used these 3 bells. That was a metaphor for birth, marriage, and death, in Christianity. And I noticed that I've used the 3 bells before, and this piece has the 3 bells at the end. It's not about Christianity or rituals of life, but it's there. It's this tag I use. It's there at the end. It's the piece suddenly gets loud there where it's been mostly quiet. And the other thing is that it does relate to the chamber piece that I've composed for Ray. And that piece, I'll say a little bit about it, is that it does also use the Lydian mode. And so I think when I was composing, I was like, oh yeah, I did something in the Lydian mode before, and it was, and when you mentioned, unplayed pieces, I actually have a lot of them, but this one in particular.
We'll just keep chipping away at them over time.
Comes with the territory. But this one, I guess, was a little more, foremost in my mind, and and it seemed worthy of Stephen's talent and the occasion, and so I'm really happy for it to have its premiere. I hope that the audience, the Ray's audience, really enjoys it.
Well, I'm really excited to hear it, and I know Stephen really enjoys playing your music. So it's been a really, I think feel like it's been a really good fit for all of us. So, and I'm looking forward to being part of one finally on the chamber piece. So
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. So I think I'll let you go, and thanks so much for doing this. And
Thank you so much.
And we'll let everybody tune in on the 19th of February for the broadcast.
See you all then.
All right. Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you, David. Bye.